Hello, and welcome to my presentation on Tacitus's text on the Great Fire of Rome, which is source 38 in the Roman Civilization Selected Readings by Lewis and Reinhold. So we'll start with a short introduction of the text. Tacitus wrote this text approximately 50 years after the fire, which occurred over the course of 6 days in 64 CE. So it was a rather recent event, one that he was indeed alive for, even if his writings on the fire were much later. In this text, Tacitus details the outbreak of the fire, the destruction it caused the city of Rome as a whole, the aftermath of the disaster, as well as the theories surrounding if the fire was ordered to be ignited by Nero or if the Christians were at fault, as Nero claimed. Tacitus describes how the fire first broke out near the chariot racing stadium, where lots of tents were set up in preparation for future games. He gives no direct guess as to what started the fire, and it seems as if this detail is lost to history. After the fire began to take hold, however, he describes how rapidly it spread throughout the crowded and dense districts, where the winds and the proximity of thatched buildings created the perfect conditions for the fire to engulf much of the city. Tacitus states, "The blaze, in its fury, first ran through the level portions of the city, rose to hills, then again devastated the lower places, outstripping all remedial measures. So rapid was the scourge, and so completely was the city at its mercy, owing to the narrow, winding lanes and irregular streets which characterized old Rome." Here, he not only does he provide us with an account of the fire, but he also gives insight into how the old layout of Rome, characterized by extreme density of buildings, gave rise to such a disaster. The fire apparently destroyed 3 districts of the city and severely damaged another 7. Nero capitalized upon this by using this now empty land to build a giant mansion. Tacitus states that Nero in fact profited from his country's desolation. He goes on to describe how the rubble was discarded, stating that Nero ordered the rubble to be thrown into the marshes of Ostia and transported down the Tiber in boats to be dumped in undisclosed locations. Most importantly, Tacitus describes how Nero, needing a scapegoat for the disaster, blamed the Christians for the fire, who he then began to persecute in barbaric ways. The fire had massive social implications and brought with it a lot of change to Rome. It is claimed by several sources that approximately 13,000 people died as a result of the fire, and that over 15,000 buildings were destroyed. After the fire was extinguished on the 6th day, much of Rome had to be rebuilt. The once cluttered and densely populated city was rebuilt in some places to consist of regular rows of streets with broad thoroughfares. Tacitus claims that the openness of the city allowed the sun's rays to intensify and burn with oppressive heat, which he notes for causing health hazards for the people of Rome. To counteract this, Nero built porticos at his own expense, which covered the fronts of buildings and roads to help provide shade. Furthermore, many new regulations were imposed, including regulations regarding the height of new buildings in Rome, the building materials that were allowed to be used, the rework and expansion of the water supply so fires could be fought more effectively, and fire suppression aids were mandated to be kept in all homes. Through these actions, it seems as if Nero, or at least his advisors, genuinely cared about preventing such a disaster from occurring again. The significance of this text lies in the social ramifications of the event that became clear in its aftermath. Nero's accusation that Christians within the city started the fire began the centuries-long state-sponsored persecution of Christians, which led to the deaths of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. The persecution of Christians would persist until the Edict of Milan, which established religious tolerance for Christianity throughout the empire. Some may claim that the Great Fire, which began Nero's and subsequent emperors' persecution of Christians, legitimized their religion and provided Christians with the opportunity to become martyrs, which only helped to further their cause. Prominent Christians such as St. Paul may have also been executed in 64 CE during the first persecutions issued by Nero himself. Lastly, Tacitus claims that many of those who watched the persecution of Christians firsthand, usually during gladiatorial games involving wild beasts, felt a sense of pity, stating, "Though they were deserving of the most extreme punishment, a feeling of pity arose as people felt that they were being sacrificed not for the public good, but because of the savagery of one man." Thanks very much.